almost 8 tons, 17,400 pounds. It was weighed when they moved it into town on the grain scale, so they know the exact weight. 12 feet tall, 40 feet around. Darwin, Minnesota, home of the world's largest ball of twine, made by one man. Francis A. Johnson rolled the ball from 1950 to 1979. 29 years, 4 hours a day, every day he worked on his precious twine ball. And it was his gift to our community, and we're happy to share it with the world. The local farmers would collect the twine from their farms and bring it to Francis, and his family also had a farm where they would accumulate the twine, and he would unravel it, square knot it together, spool it up, and then unravel it back on his twine ball. Always took careful measures to make sure it kept its nice spherical shape. He would turn it a quarter turn every so often with a railroad jack. Francis's twine ball held the Guinness Book of World Record for the largest ball of twine in the world for many, many years. He ultimately was surpassed by a twine ball that was worked on by a group, a community actually. Francis's twine ball is still the world's largest ball of twine made by one man. But there is a larger twine ball in Cawker City, Kansas, but an individual named Frank Stober was inspired by Francis to take up his own cause, and I believe in the late 50s or 60s he attempted to surpass Francis's twine ball. It sounded like it was a pretty tight race until Mr. Stober passed away. Francis was able to continue to roll his twine ball for another 7, 8 years, I believe. Ultimately, because of his health, he stopped in 1979. He lived into the mid-80s, but the community of Cawker City took up Frank Stober's cause, and they still add twine to that twine ball. But I think the feat of Francis in being the world's largest by one man, 29 years, 4 hours a day, I think that really means something. I think the path you take to get there matters, and the amount of love he showed in his creation and the care for it he took, I think that's what makes it quite a feat.
I seen on television a guy who had a big ball of twine, and I figured, well, maybe someday I'll be on television with my ball of twine.
Some people may question 4 hours a day, every day for 29 years, but I think if your life's work leaves generations in the future, many days of joy and excitement and happiness to be able to see your masterpiece, your life's work, then I think that's a life well spent. I don't know if he would have expected that his twine ball would go on to add so much to a community and leave the legacy it did. Anything that involved doing with your hands, Francis was good at. He was a skilled carpenter and a block layer. And so besides many of his other collections and his twine ball, he would make these pliers out of solid pieces of wood. So he'd take a solid piece of wood and he'd whittle it in such a way that the pliers actually worked, it actually opened. And then in the handle of that pliers, he'd whittle another pliers, and in that handle he'd whittle another pliers, and so on and so forth. So he would whittle these pliers that actually worked, and his largest pliers is this 7-foot pliers that he made from one solid piece of wood, and every one works. When it's all opened, it contains 27 different pliers from 7 feet to 1 inch. And they would say he could sit in front of a TV and just not even think and just whittle these little pliers.
Strange hobby.
Yeah, I guess it'd be fair to say that he was a little bit of an eccentric individual, so. He actually died of of emphysema, and he was not a smoker, so the family attributes his ultimate cause of death to 30 years of twine dust. His nephew was ultimately in charge of Francis's estate, and he and his wife and his family were the ones responsible for gifting the twine ball to the Darwin Community Club in the city of Darwin to be stewards over it from that time forward. See, I think the feat of it being one person, 4 hours a day, every day for 29 years, and you look at the size of that, it's, to me that's pretty impressive, yeah.
I just love that someone thought, oh, I'm going to build a really big ball of twine.
Yeah, we love it too. I'm glad he did think of that. Weird Al in early 1990s had a very famous album where he included a song about a family traveling to the world's largest ball of twine in Minnesota. So we get travelers to the state, and then they'll also add upon their journey, they'll include us, where they find out about us through, the song or social media or whatever way. And they decide Darwin and the twine ball is worth their time, and I absolutely agree with them. On our way to see the biggest ball of twine in Minnesota. It's fun to welcome the world and to share Darwin community with them. It's a neat opportunity to get to meet so many nice people. So it's always fun working as a volunteer here at the Twine Ball Museum.
Postcards is made possible by the Minnesota Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund and the citizens of Minnesota. Additional support provided by Margaret A. Cargill Philanthropies, Mark and Margaret Yekel-Julien on behalf of Shalom Hill Farms, a retreat and conference center in a prairie setting near Windham, Minnesota. On the web at shalomhillfarm.org. Alexandria, Minnesota, a year-round destination with hundreds of lakes, trails, and attractions for memorable vacations and events. More information at explorealex.com. The Lake Region Arts Council's Arts Calendar, an arts and cultural heritage funded digital calendar showcasing upcoming art events and opportunities for artists in West Central Minnesota. On the web at lrac4calendar.org. Playing today's new music plus your favorite hits, 96.7 Cram. Online at 967cram.com.